Welcome back to Sports Federation TV. We're moving from football, tug of war, life-saving to baseball. Some of you may know baseball as a fairy tale sport, meaning that not many people play baseball, not many people are involved in baseball, yet baseball has a thriving community in the Western Cape and in South Africa. They also have links with the Major League Baseball up in the States, and this is where Chad has built a partnership. Chad, good afternoon, you well?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Good
to be here.
We started this discussion about MLB. Tell us what's the link between South African baseball, MLB, and yourself?
Okay, well, Major League Baseball have always had a close eye on Africa and African development because obviously there's a nice big pool of naturally athletic bodies here, and trying to globalize the game of baseball, it's only natural that they try and get as many countries involved as possible. So from an African perspective, South Africa has the best infrastructure. It makes sense to kind of set up some kind of a, if not a partnership, but some kind of relationship here, and then kind of grow it from there. So I worked as a biokineticist for the last 8 years or so here in Cape Town, and kind of did a little bit of part-time work for the South African Baseball Federation. And then when MLB kind of caught on to the fact that I was adding a little bit of value to what they were looking to achieve with it, it just kind of made sense that they made an approach, and it was nice for me to be able to kind of now marry my professional passion with my sporting passion growing up. And so now that's kind of just where that links come from. So it's kind of just in its infancy. So yeah, let's see what happens.
And the exciting part is that you're a registered buyer, so you have access to all the stats.
Yes.
And because you link to MLB, all the stats of what makes a great baseball player successful.
Yes.
Because you may have the talent, or you may not even have the talent, but you may have the testing scores that can take you to that level.
Sure.
How do you marry the two?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a good point that you raise, because there's always that conundrum between performance and development. So everyone's kind of impatient about wanting to succeed at the highest level, and that's only when we start taking notice. And if our national teams or our provincial teams aren't doing very well, then people kind of frown on that, lose patience, and then fall by the wayside. So from a baseball perspective, the one interesting thing is that they're obviously varying kind of profiles by position, but sometimes on-field performance doesn't translate into athletic ability, and vice versa. So with testing and evaluating an athletic profile, we can identify kids that potentially should be performing a little bit better, and then they could be categorized as those that require maybe better exposure or better coaching. And then subsequently a kid who's maybe outperforming everyone on the field but looks like a sumo wrestler. You can kind of help that guy out and help get his athletic potential to where it should be.
But I mean, you can't take the body awareness and the hand-eye skills away.
No.
As the core.
No. I mean, that's something you kind of born with, and you gotta harness. So sometimes you dealt a good hand with either your folks being involved or the right exposure, because these days you don't want anyone to specialize too early. So at schools, kids are exposed to a number of different games, and we encourage that because the skills are transferable into baseball. So if the timing's right and the kids really willing to want to do that, then that crossover can give a guy a shot. But largely you hope that you're born with a little bit of something special.
And besides something special, and besides what you can encourage and develop through your professional career, there's also the other element which people don't often talk about, is the mental preparation.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, you may have all the correct scores as a second base player. You may have you may be able to run X amount in so many in that short period of time. You maybe have the ability and strength muscularly, and you may have the hand-eye coordination and be able to see the ball and bat. But if you don't have the BMT,
that's
particularly at the SA level, tell us a bit about that.
Absolutely. I mean, we had a guy with us now on a recent trip that was so good with mental preparation and just imagery, and trying to take the guys out of a situation where all that tension and pressure was on you, and you just went out and did what you needed to do. What's compounded for our game is that we have minimal international exposure. So when the guys go and play at that level against top class opposition, not only are you playing against a guy who's at the top of his game, but you're up against someone who is playing at a level that you've never been exposed to. So that adds to the pressure. So trying to take that guy out of the situation, more repetition, try and up the intensity of practicing and playing at a level that is as close to mimicking what you're going to be up against is, I guess, the best way forward. And then just believing in the guy next to you and knowing that you got to do your role and let the guys take care of the rest and not overthink it is kind of what helped us a great deal on this last trip. And I think that's just the way to go, because if you lose the game upstairs, you might as well not even go onto the
For
field.
sure.
So, yeah.
Going forward, your role in this whole MLB, SA baseball, how do you see it going forward, and how do you see the benefits to local players?
Yeah. No, I think this little trip, we had 6 weeks of preparation leading up into this last tournament, and we can see how much of an impact just something small could have. So going forward, we want to target the younger guys. We want to start them as young as possible, create a different culture, way of thinking, and just a professional mentality in an amateur sport. And then we'll kind of build from there and see what happens.
Cool. How do people get hold of you, Chad?
You can get me on my Twitter handle. It's C, my initial C, my last name Gravenwas. The numerical number is 1208. Alternatively, Facebook, it's Chad Gravenwas.
Cool. We'll catch up with you on Facebook, Twitter.
Brilliant.
And follow you and see what's happening. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Let's take an ad break, and when we come back, we'll chat to 2 players who are also part of the SA baseball team who went to Australia. See you now. This is Sports Federation TV. If you've just tuned in, you've missed the bulk of the show, but not to worry, you can catch the beginning and the rest of the show tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock on DSTV 263. We're moving and we're staying with baseball. We're joined by Mr. Lloyd Stevens. You well?
I'm good.
Good. Young man, Carl, you well?
Yes, yeah, can't complain. Good to be here.
As a catcher and as a pitcher in baseball, you guys build a good partnership, I assume?
Yeah, I think we do tend to get along quite well. Most of the guys generally do have a good vibe. Pitchers are a little bit of the weirder bunch of guys, but other than that, everybody seems to get along just fine when they do what I tell them.
Because you call the game as the catcher.
That's correct, yeah.
Hey Lloyd, are you in agreement with this?
Yeah, to an extent, but yeah, predominantly he calls the game.
What was it like going over to Australia, Chad?
Yeah, it's an unbelievable experience. Pretty long flight, but other than that, great competition, great exposure for our sport here in the country, and basically just a massive life event for me personally. So, yeah.
Was it your first time traveling with the team?
No, actually I've been involved since 2005, so I've been there for quite a while now. Jetting off all over the place is pretty cool when you're young. So
yeah.
Lloyd,
and for you, what was it like?
For me, I think it was a very different experience, because this was my first time, not like Carl and a few others that have been there before. So it was a very rewarding experience in my baseball career. Something that I'd really suggest people work hard towards, because it's well worth the effort.
And what was our level like against the pool that you played?
I think we were, going into the tournament, we were probably the lowest ranked team. Even if we played against New Zealand, Australia and Philippines, and out of the 4 we were the lowest ranked team, and we made it all the way to the final. So it shows that we can compete at that level. Fortunately losing out in the final to Australia, but we can compete. The competition is really good. We play against a lot of professional baseballers that plays in America or in Australia's professional league. So yeah, I think we did pretty well to hold our own in that tournament.
Carl, what would give us that extra edge to get to that level, in your opinion?
I think just getting the numbers in the sport is key to that, because as time and time again, South Africa's proven to be some of the best athletes in the world, and our rugby team and our cricket team are right up there. So even if we just get a portion of those guys to shift sports type of thing, then I think we'd definitely be a lot more competitive internationally. Not saying that we weren't. We were very, very close to actually winning this whole thing, which would have shocked the world, because Australia's like, I think, 15 spots ahead of us in the world rankings. So it's quite a big thing for us. Yeah.
And do you think that now, we chatted to Chad earlier with the link between MLB and SA baseball, that would bridge the gap to a point?
Definitely. Exposing the game, getting better coaching involved, coaching more coaches. I think a lot more coaching clinics should be held so that the coaches and the players, such as myself and Lloyd over here, can actually get involved and just pass down everything that we've experienced and learnt. I think that's part of the huge key and success to the sport. Yeah.
Lloyd, what was the most exciting part and that made you want to play baseball, and the benefit of going to Australia? It's a loaded question.
Yeah, it is. But I think growing up, my parents were involved, and I was one of the fortunate few to sort of grow up on the field, watch your parents play, and through that sort of try and decide that that's what I want to do, and I'm interested in playing baseball. Up to the point where I made the national team to go to Australia. So in Australia, I think the most exciting thing was actually lining up there with your national anthem. It was everything that you sort of see on TV with the soccer players or the rugby players, you know, where they get all emotional, and that is one of the best feelings I think anybody can ever have. That's a sportsman. I think everybody should experience that at some point, because it's absolutely amazing.
And pitching on at that level?
Yeah, that was a bit nerve-wracking at the beginning. I mean, we not knowing what to expect from the hitters, knowing that they're professionals, and knowing that, you know what, we don't really play professional. We're very minor compared to them. But you know, if you have a good catcher behind the plate, and you, like he says, you do what he say, you can actually pull off some shocks, and especially shocks to yourself. So, yeah.
How do you keep tabs of everybody who's batting, or do you just go on a whim?
Well, a lot of the time it's a gut feel, but we were a lot more professional this time around in the fact that we had scouted the guys beforehand. I mean, we played warm-up games and stuff against New Zealand, so we had a good idea what each type of hitter could do and what type of pitches we can throw to them to get them out. So we had a general idea of what we wanted to do, and then at the end of the day, it just comes down to execution. If you execute, most of the time you're going to be successful. I mean, baseball's a game of failure, so you know, if the pitch is successful, the hitter's probably going to fail.
And you guys were successful right up and into the final, which speaks volumes for the amount of depth that you had in your squad to be able to rotate the pitches. Unfortunately, you were the only catcher or the only guy who caught.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the level of Lloyd and the other pitchers, do you think that if they had stepped up their game just a little bit, it would have made a difference, or were they at their max?
Look, I think our guys were we were stretched a little bit, and the guys did a fantastic job. I mean, like Lloyd was mentioning, that whole Australian team is professional, and they did a fantastic job to actually keep them to what they did. And I think it just was a little bit of a lacking in terms of experience towards the end, and also that big game, you know, big match temperament towards it. I mean, nerves get a hold of a youngster, that type of stuff. I mean, and I think at the end of the day, that was the stumbling block. It wasn't so much the ability, it was more the lack of experience, I think, that got us.
Cool.
So these guys going forward are obviously going to be instrumental in the next one that we go to.
How do people follow you? Facebook, Twitter, all of those things, Lloyd?
Yeah, Facebook, Lloyd Stevens. I don't think my Twitter account's active anymore, though.
Carl, for you?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at KB18 Western Province. Yeah.
Good. Guys, thank you. Good luck. Thank you for being role models and for plying back into the sport of baseball.
Thanks very much.
Yes, yeah, fantastic.
Sadly, it's come to the end of another exciting show. It's time to say goodbye. Have yourself an amazing weekend. Play hard, be safe. If you're playing sport, give your best. Spectators, thank you for supporting these great athletes on and off the field. Give your best. Have a good weekend. See you next week. 9 o'clock. Cheers.